Hello guys, today I'm reading the epilogue and chapter 1 of the Dragonet prophecy in the Wings of Fire series. My cat is here with me, so, yeah. But, okay. So, okay, I'm starting now. Wings of Fire, the Dragonet prophecy by Tui T. Sutherland. Published by the Scholastic Inc. I meant to say prologue. A dragon was trying to hide in the storm. Lightning flickered across the dark clouds. Hivitur clutched his fragile cargo closer. If he could make it over the mountains, he'd be safe. He'd escaped the Sky Dragon's palace unseen, and his secret cave was so close. But his theft had not been as stealthy as he thought, and eyes as black as obsidian were already tracking him from below. The enormous dragon on the mountain ledge had pale gold scales that radiated heat like a desert horizon. Her black eyes narrowed, watching the gleam of silver wings far up in the clouds. She flicked her tail, and behind her 2 more dragons rose to the sky and dove into the heart of the storm. A piercing shriek echoed off the mountains as their talons seized the moon-pale ice dragon. Bind his mouth, the waiting dragon ordered as her soldiers dropped Hivitur on the slick, wet ledge in front of her. He started inhaling, ready to attack. Quickly! One of the soldiers grabbed a chain from the pile of smoldering coals. He threw it around the ice dragon's snout, clamping his jaws together with a sizzling smell of burning scales. Hivitur let out a muffled scream. Too late. The sand dragon's forked tongue slithered in and out of her mouth. You won't be using your freezing death breath on us, ice dragon. He was carrying this, Queen Bird, said one of the soldiers, handing her a dragon egg. Bird squinted at the egg through the downpour. This is not an ice-wing egg, she hissed. You stole this from the Skywing Palace. The Ice-Wing stared back at her. Hissing steam circled his snout where the hot chains met cold silver scales. You thought you got away unnoticed, didn't you? Burn said. My Skywing ally is not a fool. Queen Scarlet knows everything that happens in her kingdom. Her lookouts reported an Ice-Wing thief sneaking away, and I decided finding you might add some violence to my boring visit. Burn held the large egg up to the light of the fire and turned it slowly. Red and gold shimmered below the pale, smooth surface. Yes, this is a Skywing egg about to hatch, Burn mused. Why would my sister send you to steal a Skywing Dragonet? Blaze hates any dragon younger and prettier than she is. She thought for a moment as rain drummed on the ledge around them. Unless the brightest night is tomorrow. Her tail flicked up like a scorpion's, the poisonous barb inches from Hivitur's eyes. You're not in Blaze's army, are you? You're one of those insipid underground peace mongers. How do you say it? The Talons of Peace? Said one of the soldiers. You mean they're real? Burn snorted. A few worms crying over a little blood. Unwrap his chains. He won't be able to freeze us till his scales cool down. The enormous sand dragon leaned closer as her soldier pulled the chain away. Tell me, Ice Dragon, do you really believe in that pompous old Nightwing's prophecy? Haven't enough dragons died for your war? Snarled Hivitur, wincing at the pain in his jaws. All of Pyheria has suffered for the last 12 years. The prophecy says, I don't care. No prophecy decides what happens to me, Burn interrupted. I'm not letting a bunch of words or baby dragons choose when I die or what I bow to. We can have peace when my sisters are dead, and I am queen of the Sandwings. Her venomous tail dipped closer to the silver dragon. Rain pattered on Hivitur's scale. He glared up at her. The dragonets are coming, whether you like it or not, and they'll choose who the next Sandwing queen should be. Really? Burn stepped back and turned the egg slowly between her talons. Her forked tongue slipped in and out of her smile. So, Ice-Wing, is this egg a part of your pathetic prophecy? Hivitor went stale. I might have to do two parts of this video. I'm sorry if it just stops. Bird tapped lightly on the eggshell with one long talon. Hello? She called. Is there a Dragonet of destiny in there? Ready to come out and end this big, bad war? Leave it alone, Hivitor choked out. Tell me, Bird said. What becomes of your precious prophecy is if one of the 5 Dragonets is never hatched at all. You won it, he said. No one would harm a dragon egg. His blades were fixed desperately on her talons. No wings of sky to help save the world, Burn said. What a sad, sad story. She began tossing the egg from one front talon to the other. I guess that means you should be very, very careful with this terribly important little... Oops! With an exaggerated lunge, Burn pretended the wet egg was slipping through her talons, and then she let it fall over the side of the cliff into the rocky darkness below. No! Hivitor shrieked. Oh. Where was I? Shrieked. He threw off the 2 soldiers and flung himself toward the edge. Burn slammed her massive claws down on his neck. So much for destiny, she smirked. So much for your tragic little movement. You're a monster, the Icewind gasped, writhing under her talons. His voice cracked with despair. We'll never give up. The Dragonets will come and stop this war. Burn leaned down to hiss into his ear. Even if they do, it will be far too late for you. Her claws ripped through the silver dragon's wings, shredding them as Hivitor shrieked in agony. With a swift movement, she stabbed her poisonous tail through his skull and flung the long silver body over the edge of the cliff. The Icewing's dragon screams cut off long before the echoes of his corpse slamming into the rocks below. The Sunwing turned her black eyes to her soldiers. Perfect, she said. That should be the last we hear about that stupid prophecy. She held out her talons so the rain could wash away the glistening dragon blood. Let's go find something else to kill. The 3 dragons spread their wings and lit off into the dark clouds. Some time later, far below, a large dragon the color of rust crawled over the rocks to the broken body of the ice dragon. She nudged his tail aside and lifted a shard of eggshell from underneath it, then slipped back into the labyrinth of the caves and their cliffs. Stone walls brushed against her wings. She breathed out a plume of flame to light her way along the dark passage deep into the mountain. I stand with the talons of peace, hissed a voice in the shadows. Kestrel, is that you? We await the wings of fire, answered the red dragon. Like I said, there might be 2 parts to this because my video might end soon, so yeah. So I do 4 chapters a day. Dragon. A blue-green seawing emerged from a side cave, she tossed the eggshell at his feet. Not that it'll do us much good now, she said. Hivitor is dead. The seawing stared at the eggshell. But the skywing egg, broken, she said. Gone. It's over, Webs. It can't be, he said. Tomorrow is the brightest night. The 3 moons will all be full for the first time in a century. The Dragonets of the prophecy have to hatch tomorrow. Well, one of them is already dead, Kestrel said. Rage flickered in her eyes. I knew I should have stolen the skywing egg myself. I know the Sky Kingdom. They wouldn't have caught me a second time. Webs grimaced, scratching one claw over the gills along his neck. Asha is dead too. Asha? A spurt of flame shot from Kestrel's nose. How? Caught in a battle between blazes and Blister's forces on the way here. She still made it with the red mudwinging, but she died of her wounds soon after. So it's just you, me, and Dune to raise the little worms, Kestrel growled. For a prophecy that can never be fulfilled, let's break the cursed eggs now and be done with it. We'll be long gone before the towns of peace return for the Dragonets. No, Webs hissed. Keeping the Dragonets alive for the next 8 years is more important than anything. If you don't want to be part of that, all right, enough, Kestrel snapped. I'm the strongest dragon in the Talons of Peace. You need me. It doesn't matter how I feel about nasty little Dragonets. She eyed the eggshell on the floor, rubbing her scarred palms together. Although I thought at least one of them would be Skywing. I'll fight as a 5th Dragonet, Webs pushed past her, scales scraping against the rock. There's no way back into the Sea Kingdom's brain. There's no way back into the Sky Kingdom, brainless, she said. They'll be guarding the hatchery closely now. Then I'll get an egg somewhere else, he said grimly. The rainwing. Oh. Okay, where was I? The rainwings don't even count their eggs. I could take one from the rainforest without anyone noticing. Of all the horrible ideas, Casual said with a shudder, rainwings are wretched creatures, nothing like skywings. We have to do something, Webb said. He hissed as his tail sent the eggshell skittering across the floor. In 8 years, the Talons of Peace will come looking for 5 Dragonets. The prophecy says 5, and we're going to make it come true, whatever it takes. Part 1. Under the Mountain. If the video ends, that means I'll link the other video in the bottom for part 2. Okay. 6 years later. Chapter 1. Clay didn't think he was the right dragon for a big heroic destiny. Oh, he wanted to be. He wanted to be the great muttering savior of all the dragon world. Glorious and brave. He wanted to do all the wonderful things expected of him. He wanted to look at the world, figure out what was broken, and fix it. But he wasn't a natural hash hero. He had no legendary qualities at all. He liked sleeping more than studying, and he kept losing chickens in the cave during hunting practice because he was paying attention to his friends instead of watching for feathers. He was all right at fighting, but all right wasn't going to stop the war and save the dragon tribes. He needed to be extraordinary. He was the biggest Dragonet, so he was supposed to be the scary one. The scary, tough one. The mind readers wanted him to be terrifyingly dangerous. Clay felt about as dangerous as a cauliflower. Fight! His attacker howled, flinging him across the cavern. Clay crashed into the rock wall and scrambled up again, trying to spread his mud-colored wings for balance. Red talons raked at his face, and he ducked away. Come on, the red dragon snarled. Stop holding back. Find the killer inside you and let it out. I'm trying, Clay said. Maybe if you could stop and talk about it. She lunged forward for him again. Fight to the left. Roll right. Use your fire. Clay tried to duck under her wing to attack her from below. But of course he rolled the wrong way. One of her talons smashed him to the ground and he yelled with pain. Which left was that, useless? Kestrel bellowed in his ear. Are all mudwings stupid? Are all mudwings this stupid? Or are you just deaf? Well, if you keep that up, I will be soon, Clay thought. The skywing lifted her claws and he wriggled free. I don't know about other mudwings, he protested, looking at his sword talons. Obviously, but perhaps we could try fighting without all the shouting and see. He stopped, hearing the familiar hiss that came before one of Kestrel's fire attacks. He threw his wings over his head, tucked his long neck in, and rolled into the maze of stalagmites that studded one corner of the cave. Flames blasted the rocks around him, singeing the tip of his tail. Coward! The older dragon bellowed. She smashed one of the rock columns into a shower of sharp, black pebbles. Clay covered his eyes and almost immediately felt her stamp down on his tail. Ow! He yelled. You said stopping at tails was cheating! He seized the closest stalagmite between his claws and scrabbled up on top of it. From his perch near the roof, he glared down at his guardian. I'm your teacher, Kestrel snarled. Nothing I do is cheating. Get down here and fight like a skywing. But I'm not a skywing, Clay thought rebelliously. I'm a mudwing. I don't like setting things on fire, flapping around in circles, biting at dragons' necks. His teeth still ached from Kestrel's jewel-hard scales. Can't I fight one of the others? He asked. I'm much better at that. The other Dragonets were his own size, nearly, and they didn't cheat. Well, most of the time. He actually liked fighting with them. Oh yes, which opponent would you prefer, the stud descending or the lazy rainwing? Kestrel said, because I'm sure you'll get to choose out on the battlefield. Her tail glowed like embers as she lashed it back and forth. Glory's not lazy, Clay said loyally. She's just not built for fighting, that's all. Webb says there's not much to fight about in the rainforest because the rain wings have all the food they want. He says that's why they stayed out of the war so far, because none of the rival queens want rain wings in their armies. Anyway, he says, "Stop yammering and get down here!" Kestrel roared. She reared up on her back legs and flared her wings, so suddenly she looked 3 times bigger. With a yelp of alarm, Clay tried to leap to the next stalagmite, but his wings unfurled too slowly, and he smacked into the side of it instead. Sparks flew as his claws scraped down on the jagged rock. He let out another yowl of pain as Kestrel snaked her head between the columns, seized his tail in her teeth, and yanked him out into the open. Her talons closed around his neck as she hissed in his ear. "Where's the violent little monster I saw when you hatched? That's a dragon we need for the prophecy." "Gop!" Clay squawked, clawing at her grip. He could feel the strange burn scars on her palms scraping against the scale. Oh. This was how battle training with Kestrel always ended, with him unconscious and then sore or limping for days afterward. "Fight back," he thought. "Get mad! Do something!" But although he was the biggest of the Dragonets, they were still a year away from being full grown, and Kestrel towered over him. He tried to summon some more helpful, violent rage, but all he could think was, "It'll be over soon, and then I could go have dinner." So not the most heroic train of thought. Suddenly, Kestrel let out a roar and dropped him. Fire blasted over Clay's head as he hit the floor with a thud. The red dragon whirled around. Behind her, panting defiantly, was a seeming dragonet. Tsunami. A red gold scale was caught between her sharp white teeth. She spat out and glared at their teacher. "Stop picking on Clay," Tsunami growled, "or I'll bite you again." Her deep blue scales shimmered like cobalt glass in the torchlight. The gills in her long neck were pulsing like they always did when she was angry. Wait, let's go. How many pages is the chapter? Ooh. Kestrel sat back and flickered her tail around to examine the bite mark. She bared her teeth at Tsunami. "Aren't you sweet? Protecting a dragon who tried to kill you while you were still an egg." Ooh, how would I say that? "But luckily you big dragons were there to save our lives," Tsunami said. "And we sure appreciate it because now we get to hear about it all the time." She marched around the stand between Clay and Kestrel. Clay he hated hearing the story. He didn't understand it. He'd never want to hurt the other dragonets. So why had he attacked their eggs during hatching? Did he really have a killer monster inside him somewhere? The other minders, Webbs and Dune, said he had been ferocious when he hatched. They had to throw him in the river to protect the other eggs from him. Kestrel wanted him to find that monster and use it when he fought. But he was afraid if he ever did, he would hate himself, and so would everyone else. Thinking about what he'd nearly done to his friends made him feel like all the fire had been sucked out of him. He didn't particularly want to be a violent, angry monster, even if Kestrel thought that would be an improvement. But maybe that was the only way to make the prophecy come true. Maybe that monster was his destiny. "All right," Kestrel said dismissively. "We're finished here anyway. I'll mark another failure in a scroll, Mudwing." She started a small flame into the air and swept out of the cave. Clay flopped down on the floor as soon as her red tail had vanished from sight. It felt like every one of his scales was stinging from the burns. "She was going to be so mean to you during your training. She's going to be so mean to you during your training tomorrow," he said to Tsunami. Oh no, the Dragonet gasped. "I've never seen Kestrel be mean before. That'll be so unexpected and out of character." "Ow," Clay groaned. "Don't make me laugh. I think my ribs are broken." "Your ribs are not broken," Tsunami said, poking him in the side with her nose. "Dragon bones are almost as hard as diamonds. You're fine. Get up and jump in the river." "No!" Clay buried his head under his wing. "Too cold." That was weird. Jump in the river was Tsunami's solution for everything. Bored? Aching bones? Dry scales? Brain overstuffed with the history of the war? "Jump in the river!" she'd shout whenever any of the Dragonets complained. She certainly did not care that she was the only one who could breathe underwater, or that most other dragon tribes hated getting wet. Clay didn't mind being wet, but he couldn't stand being cold, and the underground river that flowed through their cave was always freezing. Get in, Tsunami ordered. She sneezed. She seized his tail between her front talons and started dragging him toward the river. You'll feel better. I will not, Clay shouted, clawing at the smooth stone floor. I'll feel colder. Stop it. Go away. Arrgh! His progress went up in a cloud of bubbles as Tsunami dumped him in the icy water. When he resurfaced, she was floating beside him, ducking her head and splashing water over her scales like a beautiful overgrown fish. Clay felt like a gawky brown blob next to her. He splashed his showers and lay down on a submerged rock ledge, with his head resting on the bank of the river. He went a minute, but the burns and aches did feel better in the water. The current helped wash away the smoky rock dust that caught between his dry scales. Still too cold, though. Clay scratched at the rock below him. Why couldn't there just be a little mud down here? Kestrel will be sorry one day when I'm queen of the sea wings, Tsunami said, swimming up and down the narrow channel. I thought only queen's daughters or sister could challenge her for her throne, Clay said. Tsunami swam so fast. He wished he had webs between his talons too, or gills, or a tail like hers, so powerful she could nearly empty the river with one big splash. Well, maybe the Sea Queen is my mother, and I'm a lost princess, she said, like in the story. So many pages. Everything the Dragonets knew about the outside world came from scrolls picked up by the Towns of Peace. Their favorite was the Missing Princess, a legend about a runaway sea-wing dragonet whose royal family tore up the whole ocean looking for her. At the end, she found her way home, and her parents welcomed her with open wings and feasting and joy. I just walked upstairs. Jeez. Clay always skipped the adventures in the middle of the story. He just liked the last part, the happy mother and the father, and the feasting. The feasting sounded pretty good, too. Great, too. I wonder what my parents are like, he said. I wonder if any of our parents are still alive, Tsunami said. Clay didn't like to think about that. He knew dragons were dying in the war every day. Kestrel and Webs brought back news of bloody battles, scorched land, and burning piles of dragon bodies. But he had to believe his parents were still safe. Do you think they ever miss us? Definitely. Tsunami flicked a spray of water at him with her tail. I bet mine were frantic when Webs stole my egg, just like in the story, and mine tore apart the marshes, Clay said. They'd all imagined scenes of their parents' desperate searches ever since they were young dragonets. Clay liked the idea that someone out there was looking for him, that someone missed him and wanted him back. Seems sad. 23 minutes. Tsunami flipped onto her back, gazing up at the stone roof with her translucent green eyes. Well, the Towns of Peace knew what they were doing, she said bravely. No one would ever find us down here. They listened to the river gurgle and the torches crackle for a moment. We won't be underground forever, Clay said, trying to make her feel better. I mean, if the Towns of Peace want us to stop this war, they have to let us out sometime. He scratched behind his ear thoughtfully. Starflight says it's only 2 more years. He only had to hold on that long. And then we can go home and eat as many cows as we want. Well, first we save the world, somebody said. And then we go home. Right, said Clay. How they were going to save the world was a little fuzzy, but everyone seemed to think they'd figure it out when the time came. Clay pulled himself out of the river, his waterlogged wings heavy and drooping. He spread them in front of one of the torches, arching his neck and trying to get warm. Feeble waves of heat wafted against his scales. Unless, Tsunami said. Clay lowered his head to look at her. Unless what? Unless we leave sooner, she said. She flipped over and pulled herself out of the water in one graceful motion. Leave? Clay said. Clay echoed, startled. How? On her own? Why not, she said. If we could find a way out, why should we have to wait another 2 years? I'm ready to save the world now, aren't you? Clay wasn't sure he'd ever be ready to save the world. He figured the Talons of Peace would tell them what they had to do. Only 3 of the guardian dragons, Kestrel, Webbs, and Dune, knew where the Dragonets were hidden. But there was a whole network of Talons out there getting ready for the prophecy. We can't stop the war by ourselves, he said. We wouldn't know where to start. Tsunami flapped her wings at him in exasperation, showering him with cold droplets. We can't too stop the war on our own, she said. That's the whole point of the prophecy. Maybe in 2 years, Clay said. Maybe by then I'll have found my danger side. Maybe then I'll be the ferocious fighter Kestrel wants me to be. Maybe sooner, she said stubbornly. Just think about it, all right? He shifted his feet. All right, I'll think about it. At least that way he could stop arguing with her. Tsunami cocked her head. I hear dinner! The faint sound of dismayed mooing echoed up the tunnel behind them. She poked Clay cheerfully. Race you to doll! She whirled and pounded away without waiting for a response. The torches in the bathroom seemed dimmer, and cold water was seeping under Clay's scales. He folded his wings and swept his tail through the debris of the smashed rock column. Tsunami was crazy. The 5 Dragonets were ready to stop the war. They wouldn't even know how to survive on their own. Maybe Tsunami was brave enough and tough like a hero should be. But Sunny and Glory and Starflight, Clay thought of all the things that might hurt them and wished he could give them his own scales and claws and teeth for extra protection. Besides, there's no way to escape the caves. The Talons of Peace had made sure of that. Still, part of him couldn't help wondering what it would be like to go home and now instead of waiting another 2 years. Back to the marshes, to the swamps, to a whole tribe of Mudwings who looked like him and thought like him. Back to his parents, whoever they were. What if they could do it? What if the Dragonets could escape and survive and save the world their own way? Okay, there we go. Okay, so guys, I'll read the next 2 chapters, 2 and 3, later today, okay? So, if you want to ask me any questions in the comments, just tell me that, okay? Okay? Thank you. Okay, bye guys. See you later.